Roboprinny here, and thus we are back with 5/15 Thursday. The next morning came. As expected, the wolf outfit and all the blood had vanished. That didn't mean that it was a dream, though. Takumi-san, mutilated corpse was soon discovered, shocking the whole settlement. That was when I noticed that the murder scene was full of wet footprints. They were the same as the ones left by the previous wolves. I now understood why they were there. They also wore those wet costumes. They didn't even continue outside the house, though. Apparently Great Lord Shinai took care of the costumes as well as the evidence. I was probably the only one who could be so clear-headed. Tae-san took this especially hard. She refused food instead, just prayed at one edge of the dining hall. Konzo was looking really wary too. First Chimi, now Takumi-san, was losing people he depended on one after the other. As to expect, Yasunaga-kun had gone pale once more. The person who consoled him the previous day was gone forever now. Then there was Kori-san. She looked shaken, had already broken 2 plates. Everyone assumed her state was caused by Takumi-san's death. They were close, after all. I knew this was actually just tense because she was planning to trap her sons, but I didn't say a word. Breakfast was over and we finished washing the dishes. Konzo-san prepared to go clean up.
Yasu, tetsudae.
Said that, which made a chill go down my spine. I had no idea what kind of info the two would exchange if they had a secret chat. Okay. Wait, I'll go. That was why Yoshitsugu-kun's words were a big help. I'll be more useful than this empty husk.
Koi.
Yoshitsugu, onegai ne.
Hag, you help the idiot get to the point.
Yasunaga, chotto kinasai.
It was going great. Yasunaga-kun returned from cleaning up, and Konzo-san went patrolling, but Yasunaga-kun and Kori-san still hadn't returned. A bit worried, I finished cleaning up and relaxed when...
Haruaki-sama, shoushou, yoroshii deshou ka?
Someone called out to me.
Meiko no koto nano desu ga.
That was an issue I'd nearly forgotten. A short distance from everyone here. Around 10 steps away from Tae-san and her prayers, we started whispering to each other. She's still being rebellious?
Ai. Mae made kigae mo hitori de shinakatta no ga suru you ni na.
She ate alone too, didn't she? It's cute though.
それで二言目にはお姉ちゃんをくくる。
A small girl basically saying that says she wants to... What family of delinquents did she grow up with?
ドキュン。
Yeah, we have poorly raised children outside this village too. Still, what's with her?
わかりません。いえ、実はメイコは橋本様がおっしゃっていた無地ななのではないでしょうか。
Maybe a human that sides with the wolves? Is that why she wants to...
神藤吉には狼を善とし、他のお使いと休みずは。
Did someone tell her? Is that why she changed sides?
知れません。あるいはただ。
Nothing comes to mind. But I think we can just ignore it for now. I doubt that anything she says will affect the other participants.
楽観視していていいのでしょうか。
It's not really good, but if you follow the rules, the only way to get rid of her is by...
皆様の 宴の機会を奪ってしまうならば。
That would be good for us. Please don't. It'll be a waste of a human vote. Just cruel in
わか
general.
りました。メイコにお慈悲をいただきありがとうございます。
Kaka-san, why do you care about her so much? She's just a lost child you picked up, isn't she?
身寄りのない子供を引き取って育てるのも。
Really?
はい。植松家は長者家の中では血筋をさほど重視せず、孤児や身寄りのない者を積極的に迎え入れてきました。
Reikeko, you really value tradition, don't you?
そのようなことしかない世界で生きてまいりましたので。
This whole area was a separate realm built around the worship of Great Lord Shinai. From my perspective, she was very unfortunate to have been born here. But perhaps from her point of view, being a city boy without the pillars of faith and tradition to support me was far more unfortunate. I couldn't deny that a world where the way to live and die hasn't changed for centuries could be easier to live in. A well-balanced aquarium didn't need much to stay stable. It just had to continue following already established processes. However, in the real world, closed systems were extremely hard to maintain. Other animals, diseases, lineage, ideals, the system was threatened by countless things. In liberated societies, however, the people had to develop a strong will with a blend of common sense and individuality and constant conflict with others. Not like that couldn't crumble as a result of outside influences either, but there was no denying that it was tougher than a secluded happy society. Open societies exchange certain happiness for the practical, universal simplicity we call money. That reasoning was probably a bit shaky. Anyway, the settlement as well as Fujiyoshi would eventually fall victim to our aging society. Without a single person here, Great Lord Shinai would, just like the badger or a nameless mountain god, be forgotten and vanish. The Usamatsu, had her included, would simply vanish faster than the rest. Thus, what I felt for her right now was merely sympathy for something facing its unedible end. A worthless settlement you could have about anything. None of that had happened. I'd thrown away even Chimi.
春明様、いかがなさいました？
Why would you think that?
怖い顔をなさっていました。
Sorry. I had to keep a tight grip on my conscience. Without deciding what to do about Meiko, I returned to the dining hall where I found Yasunaka-kun and Kori-san. Yasunaka-kun seemed a bit better than before, but only slightly. Kori-san looked the same, though, so I couldn't tell if she succeeded in getting Yasunaka-kun not to talk about Takumi-san.
もうお昼の準備を始めましょうか。今日もすぐに宴でしょうから。お釜洗ってもらえるかしら。
Of course. I opened the metal pot I've grown used to using, found a piece of paper inside. Takumi-san didn't tell Yasunaka anything about being a snake. He simply consoled Yasunaka about Chimi's death and talked about how they could proceed with the feast. Maintaining my poker face, I brought the pot to the sink and filled it with water, getting the paper all wet. The fountain pen letters quickly became unreadable. I then used a scrubbish brush to quickly tear it apart, rolled it into a ball, and threw it in the trash. Was Kori-san aware just how risky that was? Anyways, that info just now was extremely important. Takumi-san hadn't told him about being a snake. What was I to make of that? The first time Takumi-san had revealed he was a snake was the very first day. Why would he be so careful now? What if he wasn't the snake? What if Yasunaga-kun lied to his mother? Kori-san noted that didn't tell me anything about how she acts about it, but this could definitely be a good time to come out as the snake. What was I to do now? I thought about that for every second of lunch. I did think to keep a normal expression on my face at least. It took far too long to decide that regardless of circumstances, I needed to claim a role.
今日の宴を始めますよ。
First of all, Yasunaga-kun said that Takumi-san's death rendered the snake's power meaningless. His tone seemed authentic, so it was hard to believe that he was just hiding that he'd lost the snake. That means the only confirmed humans so far are Mochi and Hashimoto-san. With Chini and the old wolf man Takumi gone, there were only 13 of us now.
そこから一人一番怪しいものをあげて。
今日蛇が調べるもんを選べ。それで
If you were to consider the order, Yasunaga-kun was giving me a side glance.
兄ちゃんなんじゃないの？いろいろ喋ってるし、怪しまれたら。
Yeah, I imagine old farts talking shit about you. Am I suspicious?
てめえと記者の女は初日にくくることを渋ったな。
Takumi was against it too. Even you understood why, right?
わしは票はくくる方に入れた。
Kanzo-san began presenting his unreasonable argument. He was basically saying that about everyone here deserves the news.
まあまあ、実のところ判断材料は初日の投票を判断材料にするのは間違いです。提案したのは猿のカゴ車である僕ですからね。ちなみに楽観論だけど、昨日のおじいさんが狼だっていう可能性はないのかな。
0. A certain answer from a place no one expected. Old Fart was a human. Are you saying that you don't move, any of you? Sharp words and a sharp sound. He stabbed the kitchen knife from the dining hall into the tatami before him. Haru-chan gasped, while Kanzo-san made a stern face and got up. I said don't move. That means you too, old fart. Kanzo-san couldn't probably beaten him with one or two stabs or runs in him. He didn't do it though. Probably because the hostility in Yasunaga-kun's voice was highly restrained. Despite his intense words, he was very calm and displayed great determination. It's a silenced threat. A Kanzo believed it was worth listening to him. He even encouraged him to talk. I'm the crow. The old wolf guy we hanged yesterday was human. If anyone else says that they're the crow, they're faking it, and I'll kill him right now. Stop. We don't need such demonstrations. I won't stop. The feast is all about whether you believe or not believe, right? In that case, the ones who win are the ones who show just how serious they are, right? If you want to die, try saying you're a crow. I dare ya. I saw what he was doing here. The feast is all about whether you believe or not believe. They both reached the same conclusion because they weren't wrong. Due to the unreliable nature of playing the odds, the feast became just as I thought, a game of politics rather than logic. In political scenarios, the ones who were in charge were the loudest and most emotional, not the most rational. After all, logic required energy to understand. Basically, it was a pain. The people who actually enjoyed building complex logical theories were far in the minority. The majority disliked wasting energy on understanding them, even if they did have that capacity. There was something they all had in common. They all wanted to believe the world was actually easy to understand. The truth was simple, that someone was just making it more complex than it was. Truth was that any world worked based on complicated mechanisms, and it only seemed simple because you wanted to see it that way. However, it was impossible to impress the complexity of the world upon everyone. Thus, people always left certain matters, such as science or politics, to those considered to be pros, a sensible delegation of authority. But to earn trust, you needed to present yourself in a way that was simple rather than complex. You needed a story that the ones who cast logic aside could easily swallow. Like Takumi-san back then, Yoshinaga-kun now, they realized that, so they decided to gamble on it. Discard logic, pick up your methods based on feelings and preference, gamble, and win support. They provided the anti-logic crowd with a confident lifeboat. It was definitely a good approach. But Yoshinaga-kun had overlooked two things. Doesn't look like there's anyone. Then I guess I'm the real crow, huh? First was his own nature. He was a persuasive person even when there were no bias for it. I actually admired that. Yoshinaga-kun was genetic, edgy delinquent to the core. However, he was kind at heart, as well as passionate and naive. That much was plain to see. It was why everyone could believe if he took things serious enough. As long as he stayed honest, no one would doubt him. It was rare and a valuable trait, or talent, in a good-natured society, that is. I see. Then let's all assume he's a crow while the old wolfman was a human. That means we have 10 people, other people, 3 of which are wolves. That was all that he earned by revealing his guardian to us. Was it really worth the risk? The other thing he misunderstood was that this was something that couldn't be emulated. No one which tried something similar would get the same results. This was because winning via brute force is usually a bad move in this game. It did nothing, but he could only use it once. You should have saved that for the endgame, Yoshinaga-kun. Is it Yoshigugu-kun? Oh, how I wanted to say that. I wanted to put on a grin and tell him that. I really wanted to understand how harsh the world really was. Thus I had to survive. I had to win this even more now. I respect your courage in revealing your guardian. I also have something to say. What is it? If this was Yasunaga-kun's trap, I'd fall right into it. It'd be embarrassing, but I'd just loop back again and try again. I'm the snake. That's why I couldn't look into it myself. I can't be as intense as he was. If there are any wolves who want to be a fake snake, I will tear them down with the facts and logic. Do you have any volunteers? No, of course not. Takumi Moto really was the snake. That lowers the number of the unknown to 9. Yasunaga-kun didn't know that either. Oh, how I wanted to thank Takumi-san because of how thoroughly that's his secret. We wolves would be saved. Is that why you suggested we investigate Takumi? Yes, it was wasted though.
そうね。調べる人を明示してしまうのも考えものだわ。調べた端から殺していけば確定者はいつまでも増えない。
Bingo, that was why I suggested we check Takumi-san. I also wanted to see his reaction to help me figure out if he was a snake.
じゃあ夫妻子くんが初日夜に調べたのは一体誰だったのかな？
I already had an answer to that. Yasunaga-kun or Ruby, he was a human. That leaves
もう
8.
一つ仮定しておこうか。その可愛い女の子、彼女はムジナじゃないかな。
I knew he would point that out.
それは嘘をつくとかいう記者さんが言うとったあれ。
そうです。多分実在したんだと思うんです。
すみません。よくわからないことを。ただ、私もそう思うのです。そうでもなければ、このように誰もをくくるなどと言う子ではありませんから。
まあ彼女の立ち位置はよくわからないのだけど、きっと静かにしておけっと。だから彼女も人だということでいいんじゃないかと思うわけです。
If you remove her, that leaves just 7. Konzo,
ふざけんじゃねえ。無
silence.
事なだ。そんなもんおらん。
カンちゃん、しかしゲンさんもそのようなことを言ってたわよ。
ゲンの親父は最後ボケとったろうが。
But the idea she'd just be quiet if she was a wolf and
こ
believable,
れっぽっ
right?
ちもね。狼がガキを見殺しにして目くらましにしとるかもしれんだろうが。おい、ヤスは本当に蛇の加護で人だと知れたか。
Yes, no doubt about it.
それならヤスは甘すぎる。
No, I just...
シーが死んだ時もくくらんでええと言った。
Oh, so you don't trust me. The mood changed. Yasunaga-kun was stern, as he'd been when he was a wolf. Want to shut him up? Not yet.
ああ、やっすんが怒った。こりゃ早いとこ退散したいな。兄ちゃん、やめようよ。怖いって。おじいちゃんも。
Fujiyoshi? Fusashi. We considered investigating me before, but that's meaningless now, right? Yeah, already done. Then investigate Haru-chan next.
私を調べてくれるの？
Yes, once that's done, you'll be safe. I didn't mind that. Now that I took in the role of Snake, I could lie as much as I wanted. But why he
ふ
suggested
ざける
now?
な。
Naturally, Konzo snapped.
わしを調べろ。わしは人じゃ。若えのもわしが優先じゃと言った。
I also believe that it's best to investigate the most influential participants. You've shown your true colors.
なんだと。
What? You want to flaunt your importance in the feast instead of ensuring your own granddaughter's safety.
てめえはシーが死んだからって春のことを手元に置きてえってか。
What did you say? I don't think of Haru-chan that way. Yasunaka-kun was able to finish his sentence because Konzo-san's fist didn't reach him. Yasunaka-kun had jumped in right at time to take it in his stomach. You're scum.
黙れ。
He then sunk his left foot into Yasugu's Naka-kun's cheek. The teen fell to the ground. The kitchen knife was from before was still in a few feet in front of him. Kanzo had already noticed, so he beat to the punch and grabbed the knife, then prepared to... Everyone was looking at Kanzo right now. Cold stares, fearful eyes, judgment glares. Yasunaka-kun's trap wasn't that special. Like he said, it was worth investigating Kanzo and confirming his humanity at this point. Ever since he was so rough about it, Kanzo had gone and treated Ruchan and Yasunaka-kun's woman rather than his own dear granddaughter. That was when he had to retract his statement and stop himself. There were many ways he could have gone about this, like saying that Haru-chan be investigated or killed, like Takumi-san last night. Or he could have said he'd make a mistake, that Haru-chan was more important, and let her have the turn. He would have still had everyone's respect then. He could have still been the backbone of the village. Now he turned violent and pointed a blade at the defenseless brother. Right now, he was just a threat to everyone. Upon coming back to his senses, he seemed to have realized he crossed a line he could never come back from. The crude old man was at a loss for words. Excuses, manipulation, rationalizing, all of these concepts were foreign to a character as he was. A man of few words, had little he could say after such a catastrophic blunder. However, out of all the words he could have chosen, I certainly didn't expect those.
わしは焼きが回ったヤスの言う通り、わしはやるべきことを見失って人に刃を向けた。もう誰もわしの言うことなど聞きゃしねえし、いなくなるべきはわしだ。
そんな嫌だよ。私一人ぼっちになるじゃん。
春、そんなことはねえ。安水がお前の家族よ。皆そうしとる。安、わしがいなくなれば狼に勝てる。
I must.
よしもだな。織部のいい息子持ったじゃねえか。
そんな。
ああ、一旦落ち着きましょう。いろんなことがごっちゃになってる。
よそ者は黙っとれ。
しかし、
This is our problem.
参ったな。
カンちゃん、まだ早いんじゃないんかね。
じじい、ババアから死ぬのが耐えばも覚悟はしとけ。
おじいちゃん。
春、達者でな。
Oh man. Were these people brain dead? This wasn't the time or place for this. Personal vendettas, lovers, spats, brotherly union, maternity, and generation gaps. This wasn't a situation where you could just waste time on something like that. Kanzo-san was human. No matter how you put it, sure, he sowed some discord, but they had to make an effort to fix that. I didn't mind if they got rid of someone who made an unnecessary scene, but their decision should have been more calculated and less emotional. Those who weren't part of their circle just didn't know how to react. Hashimoto-san showed some serious courage trying to intervene. However, he underestimated how cold Yasumatsu could be towards outsiders. I knew that well, thanks to Chimi. Well, like I objected to this outcome. If these people were going to accept his death and find unity in madness, I'd just play along. I was not looking down on them. I just thought they were brain dead. I had to take that back. Madness was a fearsome foe to face. I let myself revel in victory once I actually won, and I would definitely emerge victorious. Thanks to my looping, I had all the attempts I needed and some.
ならないで。
Why her face just come back to my head? She had nothing to do with this turn of events, right? Not even the last time. What was I not supposed to become? Takumi-san and Chimi were gone now. Thus the task of tying up, tracking, and hanging Kanzo-san had transferred to the Orobi brothers. The elder brother led, while the younger one dragged. Everyone else followed after, singing a saddening version of the prayer to Shinai. Though perplexed, their journals joined in too. They looked a lot like they had back then. By this point, the feeling that the villagers were crazy had dulled. The terms peer pressure came to mind. There certainly was a way to use peer pressure to erode people's aversions. By imposing such meaningless, repetitive rituals on a group of people enough times, they would eventually be viewed as commonplace events. It'd been done many times throughout history in war, POW camps, cultist sects, and the feast. No, Yasumatsu as a whole was a prime example of that. Anyone living here would eventually start to question their own way of life. So the story I'd create wasn't far off the mark. Anyone living near a hellish place long enough would themselves become inhabitable of hell. If you looked at it that way, I might have been seen as a resident of hell myself. Now, what did Great Lord Shinai, Great Lord of the local hell, Shinai-sama, want out of something so needlessly profound? I still didn't know. In fact, I wasn't sure if the god himself knew what he wanted out of this. Just a thought. An internal dance of murder and concealment shrouded in the densest mists.
おじいちゃん。
もう挨拶はした。みな、あとは頼ん。
Rise not. Rise not. The brothers extended their hands, and the rugged old man's body fell. In a moment, the rope went taut. I heard a sound to a frog's croak from down below. The seeds of malice I had planted had grown and blossomed. I wanted him to live a bit longer and play the role of an antagonist, hateful old fart, but oh well. Deciding to kill him would probably haunt Yasunaka-kun until the day he died. As someone with a strong sense of justice, he would either actually self-destruct or struggle to find some eternal vacation for it. No, we promised Kori-san that we would kill him soon. Whatever the case, there was no problem for us. For now, I just had to be wary of some surprise attacks from the rest. Hope that the last of the Usumatsu Reikeko-san didn't have other secrets. And to think of how to deal with these two. Hashimoto-san wasn't shaken by the lynching. I had no idea what he was thinking. He, on the other hand, clearly read something about me. That wasn't fair. First Yoshinaga-kun, now Hashimoto-san. Their damn superpowers were just unfair. They were the reason why I, a normal, talentless individual who didn't stand out in any way, had to take such drastic measures. I couldn't even tell if he actually suspected me, or it was just uneasy. I felt like I was doing a good job, but since I saw now the forefront, it was more likely that I would be targeted. What would he do next? I was actually kind of excited for tomorrow's feast. After the feast, everyone gathered in the dining hall with barely any words. Takumi-san, Kanzo were gone now, so we didn't even have anyone to say that it was time to go back. However, it was hard to believe they would just collapse. Hashimoto-san would plan, decide what to do tomorrow. I could only imagine what they were thinking, the window between the sheltering and dreaming. Thus began our third secret meeting. And we'll start next time. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.